They told him, "If this works, no one will ever know your name." He agreed. But years later, the truth escaped the shadows. In the military, some heroes are trained to disappear. No medals, no photos, no stories told. He was one of them. His name was Ethan Cole. To the world, he did not exist. On paper, he was listed as a support analyst, a quiet man who sat behind screens, invisible by design. But the truth was very different. Ethan worked for a classified aviation unit, a unit that fixed problems before anyone knew they existed. When aircraft failed mid-air, when navigation systems went dark, when missions were seconds away from disaster, that's when Ethan was called. He wasn't a pilot. He wasn't a commander. He was the man who saw what others missed. One night, a high-risk mission was launched overseas. Multiple aircraft, tight timing, and a zero margin for error. Everything looked perfect on the surface. But Ethan noticed something strange. A signal delay, less than 1 second. It was so small that most systems simply ignored it. Ethan didn't. He ran the numbers again and again. His hands were calm, but his mind was not. He knew that this tiny delay would compound mid-flight. Navigation would drift. The aircraft would separate, and in hostile airspace, separation meant death. He reported it immediately. The response was cold. "This mission is already approved. Stay in your lane. Do not slow us down." Ethan hesitated. He knew the rule. Once ordered to stay invisible, you stay invisible. You don't argue, you don't push. But he also knew something else. If he stayed silent, pilots would not come home. So he broke protocol. He bypassed the chain of command, sending a direct alert through a restricted channel he was never meant to touch. For 30 long seconds, nothing happened. Then, the mission paused. Aircraft held their position. Commands scrambled. Voices rose in the control room as senior officers reviewed his data. Then, the room went quiet. Ethan was right. The mission plan was adjusted. Routes were recalculated. Systems were resensed. Hours later, the aircraft returned safely. Every pilot alive. Every jet intact. There was no explosion, no emergency landing, no public incident. Which meant one thing. The mission was labeled a success, and Ethan was ordered to disappear again. His name was removed from the internal notes. His access logs were wiped. His critical alert was marked as an automated correction. There was no credit, no thanks, just silence. Years passed, the mission remained classified. Ethan continued his work, quiet and unseen, until one day, everything changed. A declassification order was issued, and the mission details were released to the public. News outlets praised the flawless operation. Documentaries were planned, but something was missing. The real reason the mission had succeeded. A determined journalist noticed it. The timing didn't add up. The corrections made were too precise, too human to be automated. They kept digging. Finally, a retired commander spoke. Off the record at first, then on record. There was a man, he said, who saved that mission before it ever failed. The story spread. Online forums picked it up, then aviation experts, then the mainstream media. The invisible man was invisible no more. Ethan's name surfaced, not as a hero chasing fame, but as a professional who simply did his duty. The military responded carefully, issuing a short statement. It wasn't a denial, just a quiet acknowledgement. Ethan himself never gave interviews. He never stood on a stage. When asked why, he said only this: "I wasn't trained to be seen. I was trained to make sure others came home." Today, his name exists in the official records, but his mindset remains the same. Because some heroes don't want the spotlight. They just refuse to let others die in the dark. So what would you do? Would you stay silent, or would you speak up, knowing no one might ever thank you? Tell us in the comments below. And if you respect stories of quiet courage, like this video and subscribe for more true stories that deserve to be told. Thanks for watching.